Steel Curtain Network.
Touchdown! Touchdown para Calvin Austin! El Monte Washington es arma. ¿Quién más? ¿Quién más? DJ Watt!
What is going on, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, and welcome back to another postgame show. I feel like we do these every other day now, but nonetheless, the Steelers play on Christmas Day, and they get beat down, as the title suggests. Season's beating. Steelers lose to the Kansas City Chiefs 29-10. This one doesn't even feel like it was that close as the score indicates. I'm Jeff Hartman, and joining me as always, Bryan Davis. What's up, Bryan? How's it going?
Hi, it's good. Merry Christmas, Jeff, and whatever holiday that you celebrate out there. Happy holidays to you. I am just so glad to have had a chance to spend this with my friends and family. But what I saw on TV today, I'm glad I was not at that game. And I will just say this. I think the Steelers were full. They were awful. They were dreadful. And they were pitiful.
Absolutely. And my knee-jerk reaction is, everyone – well, we all watch Hard Knocks, and it's easy to kind of fall in love with the process and all this stuff. And it's like, you can Hard Knocks your way into thinking that this team is okay. But when you watch them play the last 3 weeks against three of the best teams in the AFC and NFC, looking at the Eagles and the NFC, they are not close. They're not a cut above. And we can point fingers all we want, but at the same time, I'm always left scratching my head about the defense. Because the defense is supposed to be the rock of this team. And it just seems like every single week against big opponents, they come up flat. And we've seen this obviously in the postseason as well. But we're going to talk about all of this. There's a lot of people that are very fed up, and everyone has a right to be fed up. Last week, we all tried to do it. We all tried to spin it and say, you know what? It's going to be okay. This team can bounce back. Short week at home team, all that stuff. And I think every single person that is watching live, listening on the audio side, has every right to say this team is a flipping joke right now. But Bryan, what do you say to those people that suggest that?
I'm not going to say anything because right now I can't defend anybody. I cannot find a creative way to defend.
You don't have to defend anyone.
Team.
You could say I agree 100%.
I will agree 100% because this was 100%. It was a united team, a united in suck.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. We always start this show. We always get a lot of super chats pouring in. If you want to get those read, this might be a faster show than normal. So if you want to get your super chat on the program, you might want to put that up there soon. Chad Scoma gives us $9.99. I'm going to take this off the screen so I can read. I'm just going to read his next comment. He says, in my opinion, it's Super Bowl or bust with this coaching staff with the talent on this team. Tomlin and Smith need to go. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot of Mike Tomlin is a bum, mediocre Mike, fire Tomlin, all that stuff. That's fine. And you are right for saying that it should be Super Bowl or bust. However, I think it's also important to note that when we say, like, with the talent on this team, is the talent on the team what we actually thought it was? For instance, I look at someone like Cordero Patterson, and I ask myself, especially since he's been injured, what is his use on this team? What does he bring to this team? And the answer is nothing. You watch the guy on the return game. He looks like he's running in quicksand. I digress. Let's go to another super chat. Do you want to say anything, Bryan?
I was just going to say, Jeff, when they had him run the ball on a third down play where they needed a couple of yards, and they're running their slowest running back. And, Najee did not look fast today. I saw your tweet on that, and I agreed with you on that. But, when they're running that guy, that's just I thought that was unacceptable, and I knew this was going to be a long day, and I knew that I was going to I knew that it finally crossed the line with me. It was the straw that broke the camel's back for me too, because I just saw in the live chat, it's bad when Bryan can't find a silver lining. I will just say the one guy that I did love today, I said it was united and suck. I love Jaylen Warren today.
Absolutely.
So that's the only guy I will give a pass to.
And when it comes to my winners and losers, I mean, he's one of the few winners on my winners list because he played his tail off like he always does. He absolutely looks the part of a running back one. And sometimes it makes you shake your head when they put Najee Harris back into the game when you're watching Jaylen Warren rip off some crazy runs. Let's go to some super chats though as we get ready to break this down. Kyle Smith gives us $10. Thank you very much for the tip. He said, no hard feelings. I love y'all. I was not ridiculous for saying this team is one and done. LOL. When will we fire Tomlin and end this insanity? Miscommunications and offensive offsides in week 17 is insane. I don't think they're going to fire Tomlin based on the fact that they just gave him a new contract. And we know that the Steelers, whether you like it or not, they do not like to cut ties with coaches until their contracts expires. Don't shoot the messenger, okay? I'm just saying what the Steelers historically have done. Could they go out and fire Tomlin at the end of this season? They could. Would I be absolutely stunned? Yes, I would. But that's just the way the Steelers do business. And, I mean, Arthur Smith, I don't know if it's all him. You know, I mean, you could tell a professional, okay? Connor Hayward is a professional athlete. Should Arthur Smith have to go out there and tell him how to line up when he's in the National Football League? I know it's week 17. I know that's tough, but I can't say that's all on the coach. At what point do you have to know the rules as a player? Brian, what do you want to say?
I will say this. Could we please stop with the fire Tomlin stuff? If you're going to say anything, say trade Tomlin. At least if you're going to say that, try to get stuff out of him. You know someone will pay for it. I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying that fire Tomlin would be ridiculous when you can get some draft capital out of him. So if you're going to think that you want Tomlin gone, ask for him to be traded.
I think too, you look at this team and where they are going into week 18, and they don't control their own destiny now anymore, unless the Baltimore Ravens happen to lose to Houston. And that game is about to kick off as we go live. I look at the team and we are all looking for an ounce of reason to believe that they could not just win in week 18. That's neither here nor there, because really it's all about winning a playoff game. And we're looking for something. What is something tangible that we as fans can wrap our heads around, touch, see, whatever, and say, this is why? I cannot list one right now. Not the running game, not the offensive line. Pass protection sucked in this game. We'll talk about that. Russell Wilson hasn't looked great. Let's call a spade a spade. The defense is not good right now. They've given up over 400 yards. Let me double check to see if the team gave up over 400 yards. No, they did not. They gave up close. 389. So close to 400 yards for a third straight game, which is insane to think about. I can't think of anything. Chris Boswell is great. That's all I could say.
Chris Boswell and again, Jaylen Warren.
Yes.
Somebody else mentioned Calvin Austin. Yeah, those are the guys that just that are still, special to watch. And I will say that. But no, there's nothing that there's no way that you can really expect anything different next week. No.
I mean, it's going to be a long break.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there's 2 games left with this team, and you hope for some kind of epiphany. You hope for some kind of miracle that something gives. Right now, I think you're praying for a win next week, which I don't know if that's in the cards against a team like Cincinnati, but you're praying for a win, and then you're hoping that then you'll end up in Houston and hope you can catch them.
Yeah. All right, we got a couple other super chats to get here. Steeler Lee gives us 199 and said, this is not surprising. It was the Chiefs. And the Chiefs are a good team. They are the number 1 seed for a reason. They are now 15-1. I'm not taking that away from them. I'm just saying that the Steelers, what they're putting on the field has just been atrocious. And yes, the last 3 games have been against really good football teams, But when you're using them as a test of where you stand, well, we have all seen what that's looked like. Let's go to Squint Eastwood, gives us $10. All I can say is Groundhog Day. Sigh. It does feel like we've seen this movie before.
Yeah, I would be queuing up Sonny and Cher if YouTube wouldn't go ahead and unmonetize us, but I would be putting "I Got You, Babe" on.
Seriously. Brandon Diaz gives us $4.99. Said called it after the Cleveland loss. Won't win many games. Wild card blowout again. Thoughts? The play calls on offense and defense were two cheeks of the same butt. I mean, when you hear here's the thing: when you hear other teams talk about the Steelers' defense and how simple it is, you see what Patrick Mahomes did. He knew what they were doing. Let's move him in motion. Travis Kelce was wide open. And so last week we said, well, there's injuries. And you could say that Joey Porter wasn't in there, whatever. It just seems like the defense is always a step behind. And maybe that's Terrell Austin. I know that there's a lot of people. I've questioned him as a coordinator myself. Maybe there's other people that believe the same thing. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's time to question. It's time to question Terrell Austin. It's getting into insanity now. Yeah, I thought it was different. Hey, I always tell you this. I'll admit when I'm wrong. I thought they were going to pull their way out of this. They did not.
No. Kyle Smith gives us another $5. Says, despite how bad the offensive line was, Wilson had open wide receivers all day and he looked lost. Terrible. Also, punting down 19 signals to the fans to pack it in. Absolutely agree with you 100%. What was it? 4th and 3 or something? 5. It wasn't like a 4th and 35. And they punted the ball. I'm like, wait a second. Are they really punting the football right now? And they did. And you're right, Kyle. Like, it just told everyone that you might as well do a Chukwuemeka 4. Just kneel it out. Just kneel on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down and just call it a game if that's how you're going to handle it. I thought this game was a tipping point for a lot of people. And I'm curious how the organization, i.e. Art Rooney II, is handling this. We'll see. Andrew Palladino gives us $10. Said, Merry Christmas to the SCN family. As always, incredibly grateful for all the content. Is it time to consider Justin Fields again? This rust slump has heavily contributed to this stretch. We need a boost. I can't say that that's the answer. Personally, Brian, what's your take?
Look, I don't think I don't think we're ready for Justin Fields to be the next quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that that would just be mediocrity. That would have not played. I don't think that would have played out well. I still think bringing Russell Wilson in was the right thing. However, Russell Wilson down this last stretch has been awful. Now, Bryan finds creative ways to stick up for Russell Wilson. I can't. I will say that that offensive line was atrocious.
Tackles, especially. The tackles got freaking torched in this game.
And he did not have a lot of time, but he was still bad when he did not have to be bad.
So real quick, Brian, what do they say? What's the age-old saying? When you have two quarterbacks, what follows that? When you have two quarterbacks, you have none. That's the answer. When you have two quarterbacks, you have none. And that's kind of where you feel like the Steelers are right now.
Yeah, you have to start. This is a point where you start over. Yeah, I'm not, Jeff.
Let's not get down there. Let's not go too far down this road. We still have week 18 in a
playoff game. I'm just saying that if anybody thinks that you're going to give any one of these guys a huge money deal, you're not.
No, I certainly wouldn't. Let's go to Justin Gall, gives us $19.99. Says, clearly the Eagles, Ravens, and Chiefs are way better football teams than the Steelers, but it hurts my heart to get blown out 3 weeks in a row and not even have a chance in the fourth quarter. Fair. Also from Justin Gall, gives us another $19.99. Thank you very much. We do appreciate it. He said, how can you not feel helpless and hopeless after putting so much time, energy, and money into a devolving team season that we have no control over as fans? Merry Christmas, gentlemen. I will say this, folks, the media are the media, and they always have, sometimes they have things they have to push out there in narratives. We are fans. Brian is a fan. I'm a fan. Dave's a fan. Everyone on the Steel Curtain Network outside of Jim Wexel is a fan. And so it does sometimes suck the life out of you. And I know before we hit record on this podcast, I was like, man, this is going to be a tough one because fans are pissed, and you should be pissed. You have every right to be pissed. We are fans, but we still have a job to do, right, Bryan?
We do have a job to do, and it is hard to find positivity when you see that product on the field.
Sometimes there is no positivity. I feel like this is one of those times. Outside of it, it's Christmas, and I love Christmas. Which makes this even worse. Thomas Eves gives us $5. Said, when is the standard is just a poor man's we are winners. I want playoff win, not winning seasons. You're not alone. You're not alone in that thought process. Roberto Robles gives us $4.99. As always, thank you for the Steelers content, gentlemen, but can we please stop using CP for kickoff returns? Also give Warren more snaps. Agree. 100%.
Yep. I third that.
Yeah, 27 Sin City gives us $5. Says, honestly, I just watched to catch a glimpse of Taylor Swift go Steelers. Was she on the? I
didn't see her. I'm assuming she wasn't there.
I don't know. Kathy Ford gives us $2. No more Christmas games. I second that as well. I'm sure Bryan will give a third.
Absolutely.
Tyler W gives us $5. Against the best teams, our offensive line can't hold up. That's the basic story. Here, guys missed because no protection, need more than 10, 17 points to win. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. The offensive line struggled. Todd Williams gives us $4.99. Says, first of all, thanks for always being here for us. But seriously, is that the best our coaching staff can come up with? It's funny how you hear people say things like, and I know Dave Schofield said this, that Mike Tomlin is a preparation-based coach, meaning he needs a full week. Well, in the National Football League, they don't always give you a full week. And so what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do when that's the situation? And what we've seen the last 3 weeks, what that means. So it's a tough pill to swallow for sure. Here we go. Nicholas Gabriel gives us $2. Get every Patterson play in the trash. Yeah, he just doesn't bring anything. He does. I mean, I know he caught a touchdown last week on the fade pass down in Baltimore, but my gosh, I mean, there's tight ends that can do that too. Ant Smith gives us $4.99. So the Ravens win divisions. It's hard to accept it, but the Ravens are always better than us, and they beat who they should. We blew the division. We absolutely, the Steelers let that one go. They absolutely got. They had a stranglehold on the AFC North, and they let it slip through their fingers. So, okay, you ready to break this down, Bryan?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's do it. Let's start on offense with the Russell Wilson-led Pittsburgh Steelers. He goes 23 of 37 for 205 yards, an average of 5.5, no touchdowns, a crucial interception, 5 sacks. He was sacked 5 times for 43 yards, a rating of 65.7. I do want to throw in that he had a good day rushing the ball. And let's look at quarterback hits when we're talking about offensive line. 9 quarterback hits for the Kansas City Chiefs. So Russell Wilson was under duress. But Bryan, how do you look at Russell Wilson after this game?
I've got to look at it as the bottom has dropped out. You know, it looked like there were some special things happening with him. You had that big game against Cincinnati where he stepped up, and next thing you know, they're done. I mean, just done. Yeah. The stuff that we thought was masked because you were playing good teams. In this game, I understand they're the Super Bowl champions, and I understand how good they are. But this is we have seen the Raiders. We have seen so many teams take this team to the brink. They've had so many close games, and the Steelers could not touch them. They had that nice drive. I believe it was the third drive of the game where they got the touchdown called back, and then he threw the interception. You cannot follow that up with that interception. I know there was they tried to blame Pickens for it. You throw the interception there. That is just irresponsible, and it fell apart today. And it fell apart the last couple of weeks, and now I'm at the point, third time was not a charm. It's another loss. So the gauntlet was real, and they did not do what they're supposed to do. Go out and beat a good team. You win one of these games, you're fine.
I think when you look at Russ, when you look at Russell Wilson in general, if he can have a clean pocket, he can still make the throws. Like, no one's suggesting he can't. The problem is when things get muddy, what are you going to do? And what we saw is like some really bad pocket awareness, especially early in this game. The first quarter, he was really skittish. I have never seen, even since he's been the starter in Pittsburgh, Russell Wilson looked that skittish in the pocket and just kind of, I don't know. It's like he couldn't see anything. And I know he's a small guy, whatever. He's done this for a long time. Just really, really weird. Not Russell Wilson's best game, but at the same time, I thought he played worse last week. When it came to some of those plays that were made, especially the turnovers. The turnover, I agree with you. That's not George Pickens' fault. I don't know who was trying to say that that's somehow his fault.
Yeah. The announcers were.
Threw it right into triple coverage. I just honestly don't know what was going on. And I don't know, did you think that was a hold on Darnell Washington? Because I think if Jalen Warren plunges into the end zone and they don't call that holding penalty on Darnell Washington, which means that the interception never happens, it's a completely different football game.
It really is, and I don't think it was holding. I kind of felt it was clean, and I always hate when I'm crying foul on the officials, but I'm crying foul on the officials on that one. But I think it's a completely different ball game the whole way through. But the Steelers did not play anywhere close to overcoming bad calls.
Right. No, not at all. Not at all. So, all right, let's go here to Kenneth McNair Jr. gives us $1.99. Says Dan Moore got taken to school today. Next year, left tackle, not going to be Dan Moore. I think Dan Moore is a free agent. They're not going to want to pay him any type of big money contract. They're probably going to hope and pray that Broderick Jones can get the job done on the left side, but Troy Fautanu back. The offensive line was rough. Was really, really rough in this game. So let's talk about the offensive line, because here we have Nathan Smith gives us €2, I think. He said, could you imagine if Chris Jones played?
Boy, that would have been horrible.
Yeah, it would have been really, really tough. Really, really tough.
I'm not the offensive line guy, Jeff, like Dave is, but I will tell you this. The tackles, like you said, were terrible. And that we've had some bad guard play the last few weeks. I did not think the guard play, I didn't think the center play was bad, but as a whole, it was dreadful. And you cannot have that many hits and that many sacks, especially with a 36-year-old quarterback.
Yeah,
that was not having the awareness, like you said, to get out of trouble.
That's right. Nicholas Gabriel gives us $2. His height is a factor when mobility is gone. What's left? I mean, he did run for 50 yards, but a lot of that came in kind of garbage time. I get it. We have Bernardo Tome gives us $10.99. I don't know if that's Ruples or the R. We've had this tip from him before. Thank you. Whatever it is. He said they have 4 plays and one is usually a turnover. The streak with the Steelers turning the ball over at inopportune times continues. The last time they had a game without a turnover was against the Jets. Russell Wilson's first start was the last game that they did not turn the ball over. Keep that in mind. All right, so let's go on to talk about the pass catchers. Pat Freiermuth is away with 60 yards receiving. George Pickens has 50 yards receiving, was targeted 7 times. Pat Freiermuth had 8 targets. George Pickens had 7. Jalen Warren had 41 yards receiving and 6 targets. Calvin Austin had 31 yards, 5 targets. Connor Hayward, he had 8 yards. Darnell Washington, 8. Najee Harris, 7. They end up again for 205 total yards. And this is a good question by Beast in 88, gives us $4.99. Said, can I ask why the hell we throw the ball to Pickens so little? He's our only playmaker and rarely gets targets. Oh, and the D needs a big overhaul. When you talk about Pickens and we're talking about the receiving core, he had 7 targets, which was the second most. He was the second most targeted player behind only Pat Freiermuth with 8. Bryan, what did you think about the pass catchers?
Really didn't think they were bad at all. I liked Freiermuth. I hated going for the extra. I mean, I love going for the extra effort. I hate the fumble there. You know, I just really do. That was a backbreaker too. It seems like every time they found ways to get momentum, they were shooting themselves in the foot. I felt like with what I saw on the TV screen today that guys were open. If you were at the stadium and you could tell me different by seeing that all 22 view, by being there, please let me know. But what I saw is I saw open receivers, and I saw a quarterback not getting the ball to him and not having time to get the ball to them.
Yeah, I mean it's tough, and the fumble for Pat Frymuth was a tough play because, like you said, fighting for yards and just doesn't protect the ball. There are some simple things, and this was brought up by Nate Burleson, is that put the ball in your outside hand if you're going to be fighting for those yards. Like, you keep it on the inside, you're going to make it more susceptible to getting the ball punched out, which is exactly what happened. I mean, I thought ultimately, when given an opportunity, the pass catchers came up with the plays more than they didn't. I can't think of many drop passes or anything like that. And so it's a situation where it's just very, very odd. I don't know. Let's talk about the running game. The running game, the Steelers do rush for 202 yards on the Kansas City Chiefs. They did have 156 before all those garbage yards in the last tail minutes of the fourth quarter. Najee Harris leads the way with 74. Jaylen Warren, 11 carries for 71 yards, a 6.5 yard average. Pretty impressive. And that was, again, before garbage time. Russell Wilson rushes for 55 yards on 6 carries for a 9.2 yard average. And Cordero Patterson has 1 carry for 2 yards. What did you think about the running game, Ryan?
Here's the thing about this. When you run for over 200 yards, you expect to win a football game. But the scheme was so weird. They were still running the ball a whole heck of a lot when they were down because they could not get a passing game going. It's the only thing they had. And so it was basically, they got garbage yards. What they did, I thought the running game was good, but when the running game needed to be better was on first down, and all those plays on first down. And when you can't do anything, I don't know whether it's predictability, I don't know what it is, but when you can't get anything going on first down with runs, and you're dealing with a 2nd and 9 or a 2nd and 10, or heaven forbid a 2nd and 11, there's not much she could do. How many times are you trying to go for 3rd and long because the running game isn't getting you enough on the first couple of plays? I think those numbers are inflated and good. Inflated. I think they're more inflated than they are good. I will say that I love Jaylen Warren in this game. I think he needed more rushes. If he had 6 carries for 71 yards, is that what you said?
Let me double check. What did you say, Jaylen Warren?
Yeah.
He had 11 carries for 71. So 6.5 yard average.
Okay. That's where I got the 6. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen Jaylen Warren run the ball more. But what was happening in that game, it's deceiving because that's first down. The rushing on first down was horrendous.
Yeah. They weren't winning on first down, and that's a key for the Steelers' offensive success. But I agree with some people in the live chat are saying, like, in the second half, like especially the fourth quarter, they're just running the ball, and it's just kind of like a white flag of surrender. And that really doesn't sit well with me. It really doesn't. And I get it. And people will say, well, you want to make sure the guys stay healthy, and you're not trying. It's a short. You have a 2-game season now. It's the only thing you're guaranteed. But I really hated that, and I thought Jaylen Warren played a great game. I really did. And he's a dual threat guy. I was talking with my daughters today because he had over 100 yards total offense. He had 41 yards receiving and 71 yards rushing. And they were like, oh, where's Najee? I was like, they need to play Jaylen Warren more. And they're like, well, why? I said, he does everything better. He runs harder. He's faster. He can run inside and outside. He can catch the ball better. He's a great blitz pickup, pass protection guy. He's a RB1 in my opinion. And I think that's why I don't think Najee Harris is going to be back next year unless it's unbelievably cheap, because he has no market out there on the open market. And so the running game, though, it was just, when you're down by that many points, you can't run your way back. You can't get back in the game by just grinding it out. Like that's what you do when you're winning football games, not when you're trailing. And so unfortunately, the running game, although they did open up some holes without Chris Jones, not nearly good enough. So, Bryan, real quick before we go over to the defensive side of things, what did you think about the play calling in Arthur Smith?
I thought it was a little more creative, and I thought it was better than last week. I know Dave and I differed about the play calling last week. I thought it was decent. I really didn't have a problem with it. I don't think the execution was there, but I hated the Cordero Patterson call. Thought it was terrible. But then when you get into the fourth quarter and you're running so much, that means you've given up. And you mentioned the white flag of surrender. Yeah, that seems like what happened there. So I did not think that it was. I don't think it was anything close to what the Chiefs planned for this game.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs played more of a simple game, but it was so much more brilliant. It was called so much better. And my biggest problem is all these runs on first down when they're not working. I throw the script away. Scripted plays drive me crazy in the first quarter when it's just obviously you can go ahead and script the first drive, but don't script a second drive if you see that they're shutting you down on the first one. Because if you're scripting a lot like you do right away, then there's insanity again. You're doing the same stuff. You got to get out of the gate fast. They don't get touchdowns on first down. They're not in the first drive. They're not scoring on the first drive. You almost get to the point where you feel like, all right, they're going to be in trouble in this game when they don't come out on defense to start the game. Yeah. You almost feel that way because you feel that it's going to be that big swing with the other team scoring points in the third quarter. So it was not good enough, especially with all those runs on first down that don't work. I'm going to harp on that, Jeff. I think that's just where my soapbox is today.
Well, we can sit here as fans and just say, and we didn't watch all 22. We're just watching the TV and all this stuff. But I can say, like, Arthur Smith didn't impress me. I like to give people examples. I like to give you a tangible example of what frustrates me about Arthur Smith. And I'll give that to you. You mentioned Steelers lose the opening coin toss. And so Kansas City defers their possession to the start of the third quarter. So what does that mean? Steelers get the ball first. So now here we go. This is where you put in the time. This is where you put in the work. This is where you look at what the Chiefs like to do. And you say, all right, here we go. This is how we're going to do this. This is how we're going to move the ball. This is what they like to do against this personnel. So what do? How does that first drive look? So the first play, shotgun pass, Russell Wilson, Pat Freiermuth, 7 yards. Okay, here we go. This is good. 2nd and 3. They run the ball to Najee Harris off the left tackle, 1 yard. Still not the end of the world. Not crazy about that run call because it was very obvious. The down and distance, the personnel package was very, very obvious. So still, you're facing a now 3rd and 2. So 3rd and 2, he gets sacked. Russell Wilson gets sacked for 11 yards and you punt. And he fumbles the ball, but he is able to recover it. And they punt the ball away. And then what do the Chiefs do? They take the football and they drive 8 plays, 42 yards, taking up 3 minutes and 50 plus seconds to score a touchdown. And then you follow that up with your next possession with another punt. That actually lasted 5 plays. And then you have a touchdown. Then you throw an interception. It was a horrid start, a horrible start. That's the problem. I like Arthur Smith in game and the decisions he makes. It's what in the hell are they doing to start these football games? I mean, I've said it before. It almost feels like he's playing pin the tail on the donkey, which maybe young kids don't know what that is, where you're blindfolded and running up against the wall trying to put the tail on the donkey, or throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what'll stick. Either way you want to, whatever you want to call it, it's just not good enough. And at some point, the Steelers have to demand a little bit better. But we don't want to harp on the offense too much because the defense, there's plenty to talk about. And so we're going to take a quick break. For those watching live on any platform on this Christmas holiday, we're not going anywhere, so we'll be right back. Otherwise, if you're on the audio side, here's a quick word from our sponsors. All right, Steeler fans, we are back. We have some super chats to get to. Let's get this started. Steel Dog 88 $5 tip. He said, "Merry Christmas, guys. Unfortunately, I had to turn this one off. It's starting to ruin my Christmas spirit. Team feels like it's falling apart." I would say that it is falling apart. I don't know if it feels like it. I feel like they have already started to.
I think it's apart.
I agree. Brother man to you, give us $2. Says, "How can the Steelers be a great defense and can't tackle?" I thought the tackling was better in this game compared to the last two, but it's still not where it needs to be. Nicholas Gabriel gives us $5. Has said it years ago, waste of a first and the undrafted guy is immensely more valuable. Everyone knows when Najee is in it, it's a run or worse, a toss play. Now you're right. And he's talking about Najee Harris versus Jalen Warren. Thank you for the tips, Nicholas. We appreciate it. Let's go to Thomas. Thomas Potts gives us $5. Says, "Why keep starters in when Tomlin threw the white flag?" That's a great question. Unless Cam Hayward came off the field and said, because he was banged up and left the field slowly, and said, I'm going back in. Yeah, if you're going to just run the ball on offense and punt the ball in your own zone when you're trailing, you're saying that you're done. So you put in Nick Herbig, you put in Jeremiah Moon, you put in these players and say, guys, TJ, like, just, you're done. That's a great question. I don't have an answer. Tyler W gives us $2. Says, "Chiefs with 2 days prep, yet we can't get Pickens open." There were times where Pickens was open, just didn't throw the ball to George Pickens when he was open. And then Cody Higman gives us $4.99. He said, "Apologies for my obnoxiousness on occasion. I mainly disagree on Wilson. Other than that, appreciate the show. Merry Christmas. Go Steelers." Cody, that's very nice of you. Thank you for the tip. Yeah, your thoughts on Russell Wilson are well known. We'll put it that way.
Yes. Apology accepted.
So let's go and let's talk about the defense. This is a tough one because, Patrick Mahomes, he did Patrick Mahomes things. This is a frustrating team, man. If I was an AFC West fan of a team, I would hate the Chiefs. I mean, hate them more than I do. Right when you think you got the guy, he finds a way to make a play. But nonetheless, Patrick Mahomes goes 29 of 38 for 320 yards, an 8.4-yard average, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Bryan, he was not sacked once for a 127.1 rating. And you're thinking, well, at least the Steelers hit him a couple times. 2 quarterback hits. That's it. 2 quarterback hits. So now, for the second week in a row, last week they had 1 quarterback hit, which was Alex Highsmith's strip sack of Lamar Jackson, and they had no quarterback hits other than that. They have 2 today with no sacks. The pass rush is in dire straits, in my opinion. Bryan, what's your take on the pass rush? Let's start there.
Casper the Friendly Ghost, I think, is starting for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now because he's invisible too. It seems like that's the defense right now. They have to get his uniform dirty, Mahomes and other quarterbacks. They've got to, I mean, he had so much time and open receivers too, but so much time. And it was just absolutely pathetic that he didn't even have a nick on him. They didn't even, if you rattle him, if you knock him around a little bit, it's like Brady. You always had to hit Brady, but they didn't get near him.
And it was the same thing with Brady because Tom Brady was a smart enough quarterback. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are smart enough player coaches that they know if I try to do 7, 8 step drops, 5 step drops, and I'm holding onto the ball, that's when the Steelers tee off on him. So they have all these little out routes. I mean, they're checking it down to the tight ends. They're hitting Xavier Worthy on a little wheel route, and it's just catching gone. You can see, and this is what really, really frustrates me when they play these teams. It just feels like the Steelers the other coaches are coaching circles around them. That's what it feels like. And that's frustrating because you're looking at Terrell Austin and I'm looking at all the defensive coordinators in the AFC North and maybe only Zach Orr is behind him. But the other ones, like Spagnuolo is so good and Andy Reid is so good at getting his players in position to make plays and to be successful. And it just seems like the Steelers can't get it done. And I do think it starts with coaching and it bleeds down into the performance on the field. Am I putting it all on coaches? No. Players got to play, got to make a play. But nonetheless, This is bad. And so let's talk also, Brian, not just about the pass rush being just invisible. They did throw some holding calls, so give them that. TJ Watt got held a couple times. The secondary, who got Dante Jackson back, who got Deshaun Elliott back, was out without Joey Porter Jr., which is fair, but they got some of those two key pieces back. The miscommunications were rampant again. How many times did we see Travis Kelce, who led the Chiefs in receiving with 84 yards and a touchdown? Xavier Worthy, 79 yards, touchdown. Justin Watson, if you were like me, like this guy had 2 catches for 60 yards. Who? He had a huge 49-yard catch and a touchdown. Hollywood Brown, 46 yards. I mean, these were just pick your poison type plays. And this is one of those where you say, okay, Travis Kelce's an aging player, still is very savvy. Xavier Worthy is just speed for days. Justin Watson, young guy, up and coming, learning the craft. Hollywood Brown, it's a name. He's coming off of injury. They make these guys look like all pros. And Travis Kelce is an all pro, and Patrick Mahomes is an all pro. But these other players, it's amazing to watch. But I can't get over the fact again that the Steelers have all these blown coverages week in and week out. Last week, it was Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews standing by themselves in the end zone. Like, wow, like this is it? Like they're not going to cover me? Travis Kelce this week. Travis freaking Kelce. Yes, the guy who dates Taylor Swift has a very successful podcast with his brother. Everyone knows Travis Kelce. This is not like some no-name schmuck comes onto the field and the Steelers said, wow, we didn't expect that guy. Against Travis Kelce, how do you not engage 87 every time he's on the field? I don't know, Brian. Talk some sense into it.
I can't. They didn't. They do nothing right on defense right now. This is not the defense that we know. It's like they have been body snatched, and it all starts with the scheme, and the scheme is not right. You are scheming it. Look, the players are not making tackles. And that's a problem too. So when you look at this whole thing, Jeff, and this isn't going to make you feel better. This isn't going to talk you off the ledge. In fact, it's going to push you closer to saying, all right, let's jump. But there's no I in suck. But you know what's in suck? UNS makes us. They suck as a whole.
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. And it's one of those things where Sam Gale says this in the live chat, and I'll bring this up because I was going to touch on it. He said when they were winning, they got all those turnovers, and all of a sudden they can't get turnovers, and now they're turning the ball over. This is exactly what's happening. And this is when I talked about on my Let's Ride podcast, the razor thin margin for error for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They can't turn it over if they're not getting the ball back. And so here you had 2 times in the first half. Boy, this felt like the Ravens game in a lot of ways when you think about it. The first was the punt return fumble. Mark Robinson does it again. That ball pinballs off a player and goes right to a Chiefs player. And so I'm seeing all these people like beat writers and stuff saying, oh, missed opportunity. What a Steeler fan, like what is a Steeler supposed to do? Somehow control where the ball goes after he dislodges it from the player? Like that's just an unlucky bounce. And so there you have that. And then you have that Patrick Queen. Man, the ball gets tipped by Cam Hayward. It's up for grabs, and it's right in his breadbasket. Hold on to the ball. Interception. The Steelers have new life in Kansas City territory, already in field goal range, I do believe. And he can't come down with it. They're not making the plays. They're not making the routine plays, and they're also not making the special plays. And when you have an offense that in the last 5 games or so are making absolutely critical back-breaking turnovers at inopportune times, it is a recipe for disaster, and that's exactly what we're seeing from this. And if Dave were here, you know what he'd say? They're not playing complimentary football. No, they're not. Not at all. No one's bailing anyone out.
Yeah, they're not. But it's as a collective, it was just pitiful, Jeff. I have been waiting for it to turn for so many weeks, saying that, hey, it's a lull. They're going to get out of it. This was, I don't care how great the opponent was. the Carolina Panthers took this team to the brink. The Raiders almost beat them. The Broncos beat them and then get a field goal blocked. The Buccaneers had them in overtime and beat them. Just the system is broken in black and gold right now.
Yeah. I mean, the only positive, I guess, if you want to call it that, was that the Steelers held the Chiefs to 69 yards rushing. Kareem Hunt had 20 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah Pacheco, who left with an abdominal injury, or ribs, 18 yards rushing. Patrick Mahomes, 1 carry for 12. Xavier Worthy, 2 for 10. They didn't have to run the ball. They could do whatever they want through the air, just throwing it. I mean, when you have all these players, let's see here, of the Chiefs, 4 players, 4 receivers that averaged 10 yards or more per reception. And Xavier Worthy was at 9.9. That's all they had to do. So you have the Steelers who, like, think about Philadelphia. They sold out to stop the run. Jalen Hurts burned them through the air. You think about Baltimore, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to try and stop the run. Didn't matter. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't tackle Derrick Henry. This week, they can abandon the run. They came out in their first series. This is the Kansas City Chiefs, mind you. And they came out and just run. And then it's just like, well, we don't have to do that. We can actually throw it on these guys. And that's bad. That is bad indeed. I don't know, Brian. I don't know what was worse, the offense or the defense. I still will say that the defense has higher expectations, as they should, because they have invested highly into the defensive side of the football, and you're not getting the performance, you're not getting the return that you should from that investment. I don't know, Brian, which side was worse for you?
Well, for me, it's the offense, because, it was both, but the defense is reactionary. They've got to catch up, and they've got to be able to react. The offense has to be proactive, and they're not proactive. They don't go out there. That's why they're more disappointing to me, because they have the tools. You've got a guy like Warren. You've got a guy like Najee, who is, I know a lot of people are down on Najee. I'm not, because he's a little bit of I still think he's a truck, and he can gash you. You have Pickens. It's just not, they just can't put that together. And there's a fella in the live chat that is all capsing tight ends, and the tight ends are not getting it done. Hey, this was also on your losers list. You probably got to put Darnell on. He had 2, 1 missed block, and whether you think it was a penalty or not, he still got called for a penalty. I mean, the tight ends should be doing more on that team. And I'm wondering if we're in fool's gold territory now with Muth.
I mean, yeah, I thought Pat Freiermuth had a great game up until the fumble, and that's just really unfortunate. But all right, let's get to some super chats here. Let's go with John. Anna gives us $4.99. He said a 3-game losing streak in December, 6 out of the last 8 seasons, is absolutely unacceptable. I'm going to assume that John did his homework here. I cannot say right here as we sit that this is factual, but if that is, yikes. Like that is damning. That is really damning.
Yeah, that's really rough.
Nicholas Gabriel gives us $2 and said highest paid defense. I know, because rookie deals, but come on. Yeah, and you're investing highly in the defensive side of the football. Let's go to Andrew Palladino, gives us $5. Is my biggest worry, how much is Terrell Austin to blame? How much influence does Tomlin have on the unit? I'd imagine a ton. We may never know. You're absolutely right. Mike Tomlin, how much say does he have? We're not finding that out on Hard Knocks. So we don't know. We'll never know. And then Tyler W gives us $2. His NFL Eastern replay can suck a fat candy cane. So this is where he's talking about, I think it was Xavier Worthy, but it might have been Hollywood Brown. I think it was Hollywood Brown. There's a pass to Hollywood Brown. There was a rule to completion, was incomplete. The Steelers players are like, no, that's incomplete. They rush to the line, and we have seen replay assists come in and help out right away. And it's oftentimes gone against the Steelers, and there was no replay assist. There was no replay assist. The Chiefs call a play. That negates the potential incomplete pass. I don't even think Tomlin saw a replay in time to throw a flag. So that sucks. But I will say this. I'm a man of my word. I'm going to call it like I see it. I didn't think that this was a game where the refs were like really, really biased towards the Chiefs. I thought they actually called it straight up. There were a lot of questionable calls against Kansas City that I even said, like, is that really a hold on TJ? And then there were calls against the Chiefs, like the taunting penalty. Sometimes that gets let go, especially when it's dealing with George Pickens. The officiating, the replay assisting pissed me off, but at the same time, I didn't think that the officiating was as one-sided as I was expecting it to be. Brian, what did you think?
I thought it was bad, Jeff, but it wasn't as one-sided as it could have been. Their number 74, Jawan Taylor, had a lot of calls on him. I think he was the only one that got called. So I guess he didn't get his gift in on time to Pat Mahomes to give to his friends and family, the guys in black and white there. The Zebras. I just don't think he was able to get the referees those gifts. But they always give the Chiefs some gifts. I thought that that egregious call at the beginning, though, killed the Steelers. It really did, and it shouldn't be like that. You should be able to have to come back from that, but it could have been more one-sided. It really could have been.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. It's tough, and it's tough to stomach this loss on a holiday like this. It's tough to try and wrap your head around a team that has been outclassed in the last 3 contests. It's difficult. It's difficult all the way around, but nonetheless, I want everyone to know before we do our final thoughts that we, the Steel Curtain Network, are not going anywhere. There are some outlets, these are fan outlets, that will just kind of like, oh, the team sucks. I don't feel like writing about them. I don't feel like podcasting about them. No, like you're not going to get that from us. I'll be doing a special winners and losers podcast that'll run on our audio feed Thursday, the 26th at whatever time we decide. And I'm going to be back on Friday with another Let's Ride, and we'll be back doing all these shows. We are not going anywhere. So in case you're new to the program in any way, shape, or form, just know we aren't going anywhere. All right, Brian, let's finish this up with some final thoughts. What do you got?
We had high hopes coming into this game. We had high hopes coming into December. We felt like the gauntlet was just going to be a myth, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, like they have done so many times before, beat a team better than them, and they did not. For 3 games in a row, they did not beat a team that's better than them. But the fact of the matter is, this team is going to the playoffs. Are you going to be there? I think you're going to be there. You're going to be there without much hope. Let's go ahead and hope on this one that you're just completely sucker punched with something unexpected in a win, because right now you're not expecting it. And that's the thing I'm going to look at going into Cincinnati, into this game. And I feel like right now, for the first time this season, I feel like there's no possible way, the way Cincinnati is trending and what they need to do to make the playoffs. But if this team is anything like what I've always hoped they were going to be, then they're going to find a way to surprise us. So I'll hold out hope for it, but I'm not going to put my money on it.
No, definitely not putting money on it. But nonetheless, my final thoughts are this. I don't know what's going to happen. No one knows what's going to happen. But like I said just a few minutes ago, we aren't going anywhere. Because I know there's some people in here that say I need a Steelers break. That's what they're saying in the live chat. A couple people, not all of them. And I'm someone that's like, not only do I'm not afforded a break, this is my job, but I don't think I ever want to take a break. I want to see what this team can do, because the offseason is so long. The offseason is just so grueling when you think about the duration of it. The Steelers are going to play in a playoff game, whether we like it or not, whether it's at home, away, probably away after the Ravens are up 10-0 already in the game, early in the game. Okay, so if they play a game on the road, let's do it. Let's see. I'm going to be here for it. I'm going to be excited for it. I'm going to be optimistic about it. But right now, it's tough. But I can also say that for everyone out there, we have a couple super chats to get to here. I want to wish everyone a very happy holidays. Whether you celebrate Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, doesn't matter. If you're just taking a break, enjoy it. Enjoy it. Be with friends, be with family, and we hope you do that. So let's get these super chats here before we call it a show. John Anna gives us $4.99. He said, I repeated a stat I heard from someone else. Doesn't look correct. My bad on that one. It's okay. Appreciate the correction. Tyler W. gives us $10, says, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Good news is that we don't have to watch the Steelers for 10 days. Better news, we get to watch them in 10 days. Thank you both so much. See you then. Tyler, well said. Great way to finish the show. All right, Bryan, until next time on the postgame show, we'll see everybody. Take it easy.
All right. We will see you next time, and have a great one, and Merry Christmas, everybody. Have a good one.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.